Here's an idea for how to make a felt rabbit. You'll start by threading your needle. Okay, so you'll take your thread. You'll get it so that just the tiniest bit is sticking out between your fingers. And then you'll take the eye of your needle and slide that on to the thread. Once you've got it sticking through, you'll get a foot or so, maybe a little more of the thread doubled over. And then you'll cut it so that the two tails are the same length. Now, here's a trick for making your knot. You're gonna wrap it around your finger so that it makes an X on your finger. And then as you roll it between your thumb and your finger, you'll put lots of wraps on it as you roll it. And then if you just pull, holding the thread tight, you'll get a nice knot on the end. And if it doesn't work the first time, just try it again. So we have this cutout of a rabbit. You've got two of them here, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you have them pinned together. So when we pin something together, you're gonna hold on to the head of your pin, you're gonna push it through both layers of the fabric, and then back up through both layers of the fabric, so it's really holding them together. Now we're gonna start on the tail end here, and we're gonna start on the inside so that your knot is hidden on the inside of your bunny. Now you can do whatever kind of stitch you want around the edge here. You're gonna wanna stitch through. If you wanna do a blanket stitch, you'll stitch through the fabric and through the loop of your thread. And you'll just be careful to pull it tight before you take your next stitch, otherwise you end up with a snarl. So you're gonna just keep stitching until you've gone all the way around the back of the bunny, up the ears, around the face, and then you'll stop when you get to its chest. Could be stuffing for your next fluffy creature. That's what my great-grandma Smith used to use, dryer lint for stuffing. So sometimes we run out of thread before we really get to the end of our project. And if that happens, you're just gonna wanna stitch 3 times in about the same spot. Now, see how I've stopped before I'm completely out of thread? You wanna stop when your thread is probably twice the length of your needle, and stitch at least 3 times in about the same spot. And that's how you'll make a knot, so that when you cut the thread to rethread your needle, it won't come unraveled that way. If you were to just stop stitching and then cut the thread without stitching 3 times in one place, it'll come apart. Around and you're trying to put it on, it's pretty hard to do that way. So remember, you're gonna get that thread so it's just barely peeking out between your finger and your thumb, and you'll slide the eye of the needle over it. Notice how I didn't cut the thread before I threaded my needle. I'm doing it afterwards. So I'm getting, again, a foot or 18 inches of thread. I'm snipping it so the 2 tails are equal. And then I'm making an X over my finger to make that knot. I'm gonna roll it along my finger, and then I'll just pull tight using my fingernail to hold on to the thread. And then you should get a nice
snarl.
Sometimes it takes a couple tries. Okay, again, you're gonna try to start stitching on the inside of your bunny. So you're gonna have that first stitch with your newly knotted thread be on the inside, so that when you pull it all the way through, that knot will be hidden on the inside of the rabbit instead of on the outside. So you'll finish up your stitching. Okay, so when we get to the end of the curved edge of the bunny, you're gonna stitch 3 times in one spot, but you're not gonna cut off the thread this time because we have more to add. So now you can take that pin out of the felt and put it in a pin cushion, and then you can open up the rabbit, and this is where you'll get to put some fluff inside to make it so that it's soft. So you can use stuffing, or you can use wool for to put on the inside of your rabbit, or you can use dryer lint. So it's clean, right? You've just done the laundry, it's gone through the dryer, and the lint that gets caught in the lint trap is really soft and good for stuffing things. It's actually what my great-grandma used to use to stuff toys that she made. So you can put that fluff inside. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get fluff into the smaller sections, like into its head, so you can use a little stick, a chopstick, or whatever you have handy. When there's just a tiny bit, that's when you want to push it in there. You might find that it stands up just fine on its own and you would like it to stay soft, or you might decide that you want to put a rock in the base of your stuffed rabbit so that it will stand up more easily. Either way, your next step will be to fit this piece onto the bottom of it. Now, it's helpful if you have a pin to pin that piece on so that it stays in the right place while you're stitching. So remember, you're going to take the pin, you'll line up the fabric up on the base of your rabbit, and you'll push the pin through twice. You'll push through both layers in both directions. Okay, now you have this thread that you left. Now you can just start stitching again. If at any point you get a tangle, sometimes you can just stop and use the needle to undo the tangle. But if it's too tight and you can't get it undone, you can always just cut the thread, undo the part that has the tangle, rethread your needle, and start over. It's no biggie. Okay, and when you get to the end, you're gonna stitch 3 times in about the same spot to form that knot so that it doesn't unravel when you snip the thread. Put your needle in a pin cushion and snip. So sometimes it's fun to put a white tail on your rabbit. And one way to do that is if you have a cotton ball, you can split your cotton ball in half. You'll just kind of gently pull it apart. So now you have these 2 halves. And you'll take one of the halves and you'll split that one. Now you have a quarter or a fourth of a cotton ball, and you can use that to give your bunny a white tail. So you can just kind of wrap it around the tail that's already there, the fabric, so that the knot of your thread is hidden inside. If you have white thread, you can use it so it blends in better, but if you don't, it's really no biggie. Cotton balls are kind of hard to stitch through. You might find that in order to stitch through a cotton ball, you actually have to kind of wiggle your needle around. Be careful not to poke yourself. And then maybe you'll decide to kind of wrap the thread to help tuck it in so it looks more like a tail. You just have to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to get through. Yeah, between the dryer lint and the cotton ball, it's pretty hard to stitch through. But don't give up, just keep wiggling it. You'll get through there. And then, when you think you're about finished, you'll stitch back and forth in about the same spot 2 or 3 times. And then you'll be ready to cut the thread off. you're gonna want to cut that thread, especially if you're using dark thread like I am. You want to cut it really close so you don't see it too much. And there it is. Have fun.